Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video where we are doing some Mustang training, and this is Alfie. This is his first session back after I got back from my trip to California, and we are going to do some picking up of feet, and then we're going to work a little bit on his manners and his backing up because he can be a little bit in my space, so we want to make sure we have good communication there. So here I'm starting with his best foot. So when we're doing hoof picking, we want to try to do the one that is easiest for the horse first. It's never a good idea to start with a fight. We want to try to make it as easy as possible. So I'm starting with that front left foot, which is the easiest one for him. And then from there, I'm going to move on and try to go in the order of easiest to hardest. So that way he can feel like, okay, like we're doing this. This is the program. This is what we're up to. So I did that front left. Now I'm going to the front right. And I'm going to pick out that hoof there, and I'm really hoping that he can get his feet done by the farrier soon, so I really want to try to get these a lot better. So to get him farrier ready, I want to make sure that he's holding his foot up confidently, that I'm picking that up, that I can pick it out. And we're doing the feet on the cross ties where he stands pretty comfortably and feels a little bit more safe. The way our cross ties are with kind of the box, keeping the horse in a little bit, helps them to feel a little bit more secure and helps to give them a little bit of that safe boundary as well. If there's nothing behind a horse on the cross ties, sometimes they can back up and then pull on the cross ties, and then that can add a whole other level of difficulty. So this is a really nice way to set the horse up for success, where they've got the cross ties, but they're also kind of confined by these walls that are also not super claustrophobic because they're just a single rail at the side, so it's not super overwhelming for the horse. And so you can see as I get into the back legs now, I'm running my hand down and I'm just asking for a little lift. So I'm just running my hand down. I know it's not the best angle there. I'll move the camera in a second. But I'm running my hand down, just trying to pet and touch gently. And when we're first working on the hooves, I don't bother holding the hoof. I just run my hand down and be able to touch. And then once they get to a point, like you can see his front feet, he's letting me pick up the foot. Then I'm trying to hold it and wait for him to be nice and quiet. I can do a little bit of picking out. And then I gently place that foot back down. I always like to gently place the foot back down. Once I get to that point where I can hold the foot, I want to gently place it back down so the horse isn't kind of bracing for me to drop it. And you can see there with the back leg, he actually held it up. And it's not in the perfect posture for me to pick the hoof out, but this is not the time to be picky. We're just really getting these hoof pickups and picking out going really well. So I'll kind of hold the foot wherever he's most comfortable. And you can see he's struggling a little bit there. He's experimenting with leaning on me. And I just kind of ignore that. I just hold the hoof, wait for him to be quiet. And then when he's really relaxed, then I'll put the foot back down. And when he does a really good job, I'm going to give him a cookie as well for holding his foot up and being able to pick that out a little bit more. And then try to make sure we always finish on a good note as well. So there I'm picking up that foot. And what I'm hoping for is that he's not going to do that whole thing where he's leaning on me. You can see my little corgos running by as well that are kind of loose and going around, which means he's getting used to a little bit of chaos as well. And then the back legs are always usually a little bit more tricky, I find. Sometimes the horses don't like you taking the back legs because they have them as their power. Their ability to fight or flight comes from the back legs a little bit more. So I find they take a little bit more time. So I'm just rubbing, petting, barely holding up and just trying to get that a little bit better. I always think it's better to pick them up for a very short amount of time and have a successful short lift. And then as they get more comfortable, then try to hold for longer and longer and longer until you're finally at a place where you feel like they could actually get their feet done by the farrier and hold it long enough for that. And it's a little bit trickier, I think, going by yourself to do this, because one of the strategies I like to use when the farrier comes is we play the game. If you're standing nicely with your foot up, you get to eat a cookie one at a time. And if you're not, then you don't get the cookie. But you can only do that if you've got one person on the feet and one person feeding the cookies. So here's a little bit of a different angle. And after working on that a little bit, I'm able to pick the foot up, I'm brushing it out a little bit, and then I'm gently placing it back down. He did that really nicely, so he's going to get a cookie there. Then we're going to go on to the next hoof here and gently reach down, and I just pull a little bit on the tuft of hair at the back and gently hold. And you can see he worried a little bit, but I just try to hold it really low, close to his body. And here I'm just brushing it out a little bit, giving a little bit of a pick out. And he's holding really, really nicely there. So we're experimenting with holding for a little bit longer. So this is letting me know that he's on the right path to being able to get his feet done by the farrier. And he did that really well. So he's going to get a cookie. And as I'm doing this, when I'm moving from one foot to the next, it also gives him a little bit of a mental break. So I'm not just going over one foot over and over and over again, causing him to get a little bit upset. So switching sides, going to those different feet, it's almost like doing a new task all over again. It's always a bit of a balancing act with horses where you want to do enough repetition that the horse gets to have relaxation and understanding and make a little bit of progress, but not so much repetition that the horse gets really irritated and frustrated that you're still doing the same thing over and over again. And that just comes with a little bit of practice, a little bit of experience to know when to ask for more and when to rest. So that way you get a little bit more timing and feel for when to push and when not to push. And so here with Alfie, he's doing a great job. We're going to do this last hind hoof. You can see he's holding that really nicely. You can also see in his posture just the way that he's kind of got his head up a little bit, and he's kind of leaning on the cross tie a little bit, and he's standing really still like a little statue there, that he's a little bit unsure, but you can see he's looking for the cookie there. So he's like, okay, I did it. It was hard, but I did it, and got the cookie there. So now we're going into the arena, doing a little bit of leading, doing a little bit of backing up. Sometimes he can be a little bit in my space, and I want to try to get that backing up a little bit softer. Backing up is a skill that he'll need to do as part of the competition. So it's important for that safety piece, but also for communication, because it is a skill that we're going to need to do in general. So we're working on pulling back on the halter and then also reinforcing with the chest as need be. I was finding that he's a little bit kind of heavy to ask him to go back. So I'm using the chest to help guide him a little bit more. But the goal is to not to have to use both of those cues at the same time. But because he can just be a little stuck there, we're having to use the chest and the halter at the same time. So here, asking him again, I'm trying to, you can see I'm leaning into him a little bit. I'm trying to get him to go not off of that chest, but we're using that chest to reinforce. So whenever the horse is confused about what we're asking them to do, I'm always trying to give them another option to help them understand. And then we take a little break, we go for a little walk around, because I don't want to just back him up around the whole arena. That's going to be, muscle-wise, it's going to be hard, but also it's basically just asking for a fight from him because it's already something tricky for him to do. Here, doing a different way of backing up, just using my rope in front. And then I'm going to give him a little cookie there because he did that really, really nicely, respecting my space and just backing up out of there. And here we'll try another little back up. And here he's going nice and soft and he's backing up with me. And it felt really, really nice. And then when I'm going to give him the cookie, I'm going to try to get him to stretch low to try to help improve that posture a little bit. So overall, doing really well after me being away for a couple weeks.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.